Okay, listen, I know we just started spring, but I am so ready for summer. I would love to go on a vacation. I'm thinking about all these fun travel plans I have coming up. And so I just really needed to make a tumbler that matched the way I'm feeling right now. So we are going to make a exploration, travel, fun, vacation type of tumbler here. So what I'm going to do is start out with my 30-ounce skinny straight tumbler, and I'm going to do a kind of like a 3/4 split design. I'm not going to do a perfect 50-50 split. Of course, if you want to, you absolutely can, but I wanted to do something just a little bit different, and I wanted to show more of my pattern vinyl than my glitter, which I know is crazy. I never say that. So what I'm doing is taking some painter's tape and I'm just mapping out a 3-inch section-ish. I'm not measuring, I'm just using the size of my painter's tape to create this section. So I've got a piece of 2-inch painter's tape on there, and then I'm taking another piece of 1-inch wide painter's tape, and I'm just gonna put those on my tumbler right up next to each other. I initially had 2 pieces of the 4-inch wide tape, and I think that made the section too big. Like, it almost looked like I was trying to do a 50-50 split, but just didn't get it right. And that's not what I wanted it to look like. I wanted it to be very obvious that this section is smaller than the other section on purpose. So once I've got my painter's tape down and that section is mapped out, I'm going to take my pattern vinyl. This is the Paper Studio brand of vinyl, and it's just like a world map pattern. I found a very similar pattern online for like a digital paper, so I'll link that for you if you want to just get any sort of file you want, and then you can just print it out, or you can use a pre-printed pattern that you have, doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is mark this, and then I'm going to cut it down to size to fit around this section of my tumbler, and I'm going to wrap it around the same way I do with all of my pattern vinyl. I'm going to take a little bit of the backing away, stick that down to my tumbler first, and then I'll use my vinyl scraping tool to push the rest of the vinyl onto the cup. Once I have my vinyl applied, I'm going to take my craft knife and trim off the excess, using this straight line of tape as a guide to help me cut this line as straight as I possibly can. I am not good at cutting straight lines, but having the tape as a guide, it does make it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to cut off all of my excess vinyl from the top and bottom of the cup. So starting with the top rim, I'm just going to pull the vinyl tightly up over the top rim and then trim it with my knife. And then for the bottom rim of the cup, I'm going to use my cup edging tool from CAMIPAIGE Boutique, and I'm going to put it on, I think, the lowest setting or the second to lowest. I didn't want to leave too much room of like tumbler at the bottom. We are going to glitter that whole section, so it's okay if you leave a little bit of just blank tumbler underneath your vinyl, and you'll see what I mean here. But it's totally up to you if you just want like a small section, or if you want to have excess vinyl and wrap it around the bottom of the cup. Either way, I've done it all different kinds of ways, so it's really just personal preference, but that's what the bottom of my cup looks like now. So what I'm going to do now that I've got my vinyl all trimmed up is take that same painter's tape that I used before. I'll remove it from my section that I'm going to put the glitter on, and I'm just going to replace it and put it over all of my patterned vinyl sections so that I can protect them from my paint and glittering, and then we will get to painting. I'm going to use my Delta Creative Ceram Coat brand of acrylic paint, my favorite, and the name of this color is Blue Heaven. Fun fact, this is actually my wedding color, so I love using this blue anytime I can. What I'm going to do is paint a nice hefty coat of this paint all over any part of my tumbler that is still white, and then we will let that dry and go in with the epoxy method to apply our glitter. So the reason I'm using the epoxy method as my adhesive for this glitter is because, one, I really just like the epoxy method in general. I feel like the hold is really, really strong. But I also am using a very like large kind of shattered cut of glitter for this design, and I feel like when you use those bigger cuts or something like a shatter or a cellophane type of glitter, kind of like this one is, it just helps hold the glitter down. So like if you've got a thicker layer of epoxy, which you can do, you can't do like a super thick layer of glitter glue, you know, to help kind of pull that glitter down into it, whereas with epoxy you can. So you'll see I'm using a little bit more epoxy than you typically would for an epoxy method application, but that's because I want the epoxy to like pull the glitter down. So I want the glitter to soak into it just a little bit, which is going to help it lie flat and make all of our subsequent steps a whole lot easier. So I'm doing a nice like medium thick layer, not as thick as you would do if you're doing like a regular coat of epoxy on your tumbler, but definitely more than you would do if you're just applying like, let's say, a fine cut glitter to your tumbler. Hopefully that makes sense, but I'm gonna make sure the coat is nice and even, and then I'm gonna take my glitter and I'm going to cover all of these areas with it, and you'll see as I'm pouring it, you'll see kind of what I mean by the shattered or the cellophane type of look that this glitter has. It's beautiful, but it is a little bit more difficult to work with. You just have to take a few extra steps to make sure that it's not a complete nightmare when you go to sand it or put a decal on or whatever. So after I finished tapping down all the glitter again to help it lie flat, I'm going to remove all of my painter's tape and let my epoxy cure overnight. And then I did seal the glitter with my CRYSTALAC glitter glue and water mixture and let that dry for 2 hours. And then I added 3 coats of epoxy to the cup. Each coat was probably about like 30 milliliters. I did use the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure Epoxy because it is a little bit thicker, and I find that it works really well with these chunkier cuts of glitter. It just adds a little bit extra coverage, so you don't have to do like a million coats of epoxy. You can do less coats that are just a little bit heavier, if that makes sense. And I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't film any of those steps, so I apologize. But here in this step, I have my 3 coats of epoxy on my cup, and I've done a full round of sanding over the glitter. So this area is nice and completely smooth, and we're ready to go in with all of our vinyl work. So for the decal, I decided just to do a very simple 1-word decal, make it nice and big and simple. And it says explore because like I said, I'm ready to go on vacation. I want to see some new things. I want to do some fun stuff. So I thought that explore decal would be perfect for this design. Before I add my wording though, I am going to add my vinyl striping to the edges of where my vinyl and glitter meet. I am using a holographic pink chrome vinyl for the bottom layer of my striping. I'm using the same vinyl for my striping and my decal. So this is from TECKWRAP Craft. I'm going to put this down first, and then on top of it I'm going to use this really pretty like champagne gold shimmery glittery vinyl, also from TECKWRAP Craft, and I think I cut the bottom strip out at 0.15 inches in width, and then the top champagne gold layer is 0.08 inches in width, so just about half the size, and I'll just lay that right in the middle. And then I'm going to put my decal down right in the center of that glitter section that we mapped out. Once the decal was applied, I did go right into my last coats of epoxy. I did not seal the vinyl. I probably could have, but luckily I didn't have to deal with any lifting or anything. But typically with like a chrome or holographic vinyl, I would seal it because it does have a tendency to lift, but I guess I just got lucky in this case. So after my final 2 coats of epoxy, we are all done, and this is the final tumbler design. I really love how this turned out. It's very much, again, reinforcing my mood for summer and my need to go on a vacation. So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are not already. And thanks so much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Okay, love you, bye. Hello friends, thanks so much for watching this video. I want to say a huge special thank you to my elite fam, my channel members, and my subscribers. You all make this channel possible, so thank you so much for being part of the fam. If you want more exclusive content from me, you can join my elite fam at patreon.com/elitefam. You can find my tumblers and digital files on my website madebymalstudio.com. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at madebymal_studio. Here's another video for you to check out, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye.